Hi everyone, this week's tips and tricks is going to be the final one in June before we finish for the end of term. Just like you're cleaning up your physical classrooms and getting ready for the end of the year, this video is all about cleaning up your Google Classroom and getting everything organised and streamlined for the start of the next school year. So I have 6 tips for doing this, and these tips come from Eric Hertz, who is the writer of Control-Alt-Achieve, which is a blog, and he also does some training as well with schools over in America. And I find these tips and tricks very useful when cleaning up my classroom and getting rid of the assignments and removing the users and the children from the classes that I no longer need anymore. These are my Google Classrooms. You can see that I'm starting to build up quite a few classrooms, and so I want to make sure that those classrooms that I'm not using anymore, that I do a couple of things just to tidy everything up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that any work that has been submitted to me by the children is returned to them. Because once work is submitted to you, you become the owner of it. It comes into your drive. If you delete it, it means that it's deleted also from the children's end. So rather than deleting their work, we want to make sure we've returned everything, and then that frees up space in our Google Drive as well. So to do this, I click up here on the little hamburger icon, and I'm going to click on To Review. That brings up a new view, and you can see that I've got all of these assignments that have been handed in and need to be returned. So I'm not going to return them all. I'm going to pick on a particular one. So let's see, I'm going to do a lava lamp experiment. So that could be, I'm part of some other teacher's experiment, so I'm going to return these. Markers reviewed. And now that's been returned to the children, so they'll have a copy of their assignment. You can do that individually with all of the classes. You can pick a particular class and see just their assignments and return those assignments to the children. If you have some work that has been handed in but it hasn't been graded, you can click on those assignments individually, then click on the student work, and then give that a grade if you need to, and return it to the student. Turn it back, and simply then just close the tab. So now the student has the work returned, and then it's out of my drive. The second tip is all about unenrolling students from your class. So rather than deleting the class year after year and getting a new class, so if I go to people, and here I've got, this is the Key Stage 2 class, I'm going to click on this student. So you can click on all of the students and unenroll them. I'm just going to show you by clicking on just one student, and then go to Actions and then Remove. And that's just kind of like a safety thing. If your children are enrolled in your class and you don't bother enrolling them or archiving the class, then next year they still have access to that class. They can be writing on the stream, they can be sending messages to each other. So it's just good at the end of the year either to unenroll the students or to archive the class, which is something that I'm going to show you in another tip. So instead of unenrolling the children, you can archive the class. So if I'm back here on the main classroom page, and the 3 dots is where I go to archive the class. Now the good thing about archiving the class is that you still have access to any of the assignments that you put into that classroom. So if you need to recycle that assignment and use it again, rather than having to create it again, you'll always be able to, in Google, then just click reuse a post from an archive class. If, for example, you want to unarchive a class, you simply go to the hamburger icon again and scroll down to Archived Classes. And here I'll find all of the classes that I've archived, and you can see there that there's the previous one I did. So if I want to bring it back, all I have to do is click on Restore. Also, then you need to go to your Google Calendar for the next tip. So when you join a class as a student or create one as a teacher, you will see that in your Google Calendar, you'll have those classes appear as a class calendar. Now, you may not want to be part of those calendars or get notifications from them. So to stop that happening and to remove yourself from them, you can either just click on the little X. So I'm part of Miss Donnelly's P2 class and I don't want to be part of that anymore. So I'll click on the X and click on Remove Calendar. Or you have the option to hide a calendar. So if I click on the 3 little dots or the snowman, I can hide it from my list. That means that it's still there if I ever need it. Or I can go to Settings and Sharing, scroll down to the very bottom and click Delete from that calendar. So I'm going to permanently delete this calendar. And that means that's gone now from my calendar. So you can clean up any of those calendars, especially if you're doing any training with me. and I've put you into a Google Classroom. Those calendars will be here in your Google Calendar and you can get rid of them. So the next trick is back in your Drive. So if you click on the little arrow beside your Drive, you can see all of the folders that there are in your Drive. Now, if you have lots of classrooms like I do, and especially if you build up your classrooms over the year, you want to keep this tidy. So if you click on the little drop down arrow, you can see all of my classrooms there are there. And I might only want to have the ones that are active this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the classroom folder, right click on it and create a new folder. I'm going to call this one Archive. So now in that folder, I'm going to put all of the classroom folders that I don't need anymore. So this one here, just click and drag it in. And that's, you can see there that within the archive folder now I have one. So let's say the digital newspaper, I'm going to drag it to archive. And there you are. It started now to get some folders in the archive folder as well. So you can tidy up all of these classroom folders then simply by dragging them and dropping them into your archive folder. And the last tip that I have for you today is all about the Shared With Me folder in your Drive. So if you click there, you can see that I have lots and lots of folders that have been shared with me. If I'm a member of a classroom or I have created a classroom, then all of the files that the children have been working on will appear in here. You can see I've been working on some potato Jamboards with the primary 4 class. And so if I've returned this work to the children, then I simply can mark all of these folders, right click them and remove them, and that clears up my Drive then ready for next year as well. So that's it, my 6 tips and tricks courtesy of Eric Kurtz from Control Alt Achieve for clearing up and tidying up your Google Classroom and your Drive, getting ready for next year. I do hope that you get a chance over the next couple of weeks to try out some of these tips and tricks and get your Drive nice and clear and ready for the next term.